Hello again. I am James McKay, co-owner of DG Grooming Essentials. Welcome to another episode of Self-Care Sundays. And today you're in for a treat because we have none other than Amethyst Roberson here with us today. We're going to talk a little bit about mental health and just some things that are important concerning men and self-care. Amethyst, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much, James, for inviting me. And it's very exciting to be able to talk about the topic that you have today.
I've learned after doing a few of these, the best introduction is to have the guests really introduce themselves. So tell us who you are and a little bit about what you do.
So, my name is Amethyst Roberson. I'm a licensed professional counselor here in St. Louis, Missouri. The way that I show up is a various facets, but the main thing is I provide services to men and women that help them heal, be empowered, and restored in their lives. My website is arobersontherapy.com. You'll find out a lot more information about what I do. But again, the main way that I show up in people's lives is to bring healing, empowerment, and restoration from traumatic situations or to assist them as they're going through grief.
Yeah, so I kind of want to start off and ask you, I think the question that will kind of set the landscape for our discussion here in these few moments is why is self-care or mental health so taboo, not only for men, but for African Americans in general? What's the big deal?
I thought about that, and you know what? I wouldn't say like it's taboo necessarily, but it's something I think that we are all informed about because therapy has been a concept that's been around for a while and it's just gotten a really bad rap. And I think because of the pandemic and things like that, therapy is like the hot topic. Self-care is like that hot topic. But in and of itself, self-care is something that we all have been doing for a long, long time. It's just now we have had an opportunity to slow down, really see where we are, see some of the good things and the bad things that we need to work on, and actually do it this time. And so self-care is just actually paying closer attention to those things that we need to care for ourselves and care for our families.
So, how has this pandemic really affected us? Because, I don't think we get it. How it's affected us socially and emotionally.
Yeah, you know what? In my private practice alone, like I've gotten so many calls over the last 2 years because of the pandemic, because people saw therapy as a need or saw anxiety and depression and things like that as a need, but it wasn't like priority because you had to shift a lot. You had to shift finances, things like that to put into that self-care time to go to therapy. But now, again, because people are at home, people just became so overwhelmed. If you take the regular life issues that we all have, that men and women have, families have, fathers, mothers, and then you put on top of that this thing of being overwhelmed with the pandemic, the thing that made in a sense, the good thing about the pandemic is that we were all going through it at the same time. And so
Hmm.
it made sense that now this thing of therapy and self-care, it started coming up. It made sense because collectively everybody's kind of headed in that same direction. So that was kind of like the stamp and approval to start moving towards better care for yourself, better care for your family, having conversations that you don't normally have, because
Hmm.
more you may be stuck together. You don't have the opportunity to really leave the house and things like that. And so that gave us all the opportunity really to start having conversations that we don't normally get to have.
So, let me ask you this: how does therapy help? How can therapy really help us with the things that we've experienced over the past 18 or so months? Because in,
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
opinion, without being the expert on this, without really knowing what therapy has to offer, you don't realize the need for it, so you don't pursue it. So let's do a quick commercial. How can therapy help us with what we've experienced through the pandemic?
A lot of different things. It can help alleviate and eliminate some of the frustration that you may have. It'll help you identify where anxiety is coming from, reduce depression. It'll even tell you if you have an issue with depression. A lot of times, because of the fast pace of what we all do in just regular life and going to work, you may not notice the things that you would have noticed if you were not in that pandemic. And so therapy will help you navigate conflict. It helps you work through communication roadblocks that you may have with a spouse or even with your children. So therapy is for everybody. You know, it helps you really get rid of any roadblocks and solve any problems that you may have in your life.
Wow, that's huge. And since we've been doing this self-care Sunday, I
Yeah,
personally come to realize that there's truly a need for self-care to happen on a consistent
absolutely.
basis. This is not just something that's going on for something to post on social media. So whether an individual had someone they were seeing on a regular basis, or they've been considering reaching out to someone, or
Hmm.
even after this dialogue with you, they they are wanting to reach out and contact you via your website. Between now and then, let's talk a little bit about the investment.
Hmm.
I don't understand why people have not seen that it's paramount to invest in themselves emotionally. The number of people at Home Depot spending money on home projects during the pandemic was astounding.
Yeah.
And
Well, you
so, in
can't
the same
see.
way, Amethyst,
Yeah,
this really is an investment, and people have
it
to invest
is.
in themselves.
You know, that's really good that you use that analogy of like home repair. The thing is, the repair that's needed for most counseling situations, people can't see it. So if we're in a place where we can hide and disguise things, and I mean, the honest truth is, who really wants to like dig down deep and get into the mess that sometimes exists inside? So with repairing your home, you kind of cover that up, you put the siding on, the roof on, and things like that, and it looks real pretty until you get a little closer and you see that that piece of wood is rotten. So if you want to use that same analogy, sometimes therapy is not about like redoing everything in your life. Sometimes it's just repairing it. You may see one area that you want to have somebody walk through with you, and that's what therapy is about. So, you know, again, who wants to go through all that? But you know, it's worth it in the end, especially with things kind of slowed down right now. Another genuine reason why people should invest in therapy is because it helps you eliminate harm. And that's one thing with the men, African American men in particular, live in the state of just wanting to eliminate harm. And a lot of times, when you get into that state and that mindset of wanting to eliminate harm for yourself and the people around you, you forget about yourself. And so the key thing now is eliminate the harm for yourself. We've all heard that analogy of if you're on a plane, pull down the oxygen for yourself first and then begin to administer that to other people. And so for African American men and men in general, begin to pull down that mask and take the oxygen and eliminate harm that's inside of you so that you can be even more present for the people that you love in your life.
Woo! That's
Yeah.
powerful. You say pull down that
Pull it
mask.
down.
I love it. Well, I'm
Yeah.
I'm fully expecting some of our audience members to reach out to you to follow. Just by following you on social media, I think will be a step in the right direction, right? It's kind of hard to
Absolutely.
get to Chicago if you're not going north.
There you
So
go. There you
if
go.
they at least start following you, there'll be a step in the right direction that hopefully they'll be willing to reach out and do the things that they need to in order to kind of get the ball rolling. But in the last 90 seconds, will you give us one takeaway? We've talked about yoga, we've talked about exercise, we've talked about music.
Yeah.
Can you give them one takeaway of something they can do daily, even if it's the power of saying no to
Yeah.
people sometimes? What's one takeaway our men can use?
You know what? One takeaway is look around in your life and figure out what is in your immediate control. There are a lot of things that are going to come at you, a lot of people, things that people that have opinions about you and pull on you. But guess what? We can't be in control of all of those things. So maybe create a list of things that are in your immediate control and deal with those things. Love on those people that are right around you, and then go towards the people that are your extended family. So just whatever's in your control, try to manage that in your life.
Amethyst, that's powerful. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you so much.